Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so.
Shalom, hope you're well and blessed by Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach, who instructs us to operate through the fruits of the Ruach or Spirit, which is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, belief, meekness, and temperance. So what I'll do is cover the first three now and the others in a separate video. So starting with love, which first and foremost should be for Yahuwah and for his word, which reads, "Whoso guards his word, in him truly is the love of Yahuwah perfected. Hereby know we that we are in him." Now, of course, to be able to guard Yahuwah's word is our responsibility to take the time to study it thoroughly and not just read it once from cover to cover to have it checked off your list to say, yeah, I've read the Bible. Because some are like that, who treat the Bible like it's a novel, thinking it's done and dusted and completely understood after just one reading. Whereas that's not the case at all. The word says, study to show yourself approved unto Yah, rightly dividing the word of truth. Standard books, they're usually penned down by one writer and written over the period of a few years and generally in a chronological order with a beginning, a middle and an end. And to understand it, you don't need to do much dividing. But the Bible, on the other hand, from Genesis to Revelation, it was written over a period of roughly 1,500 years, divinely inspired by Yahuwah, who used around 40 different writers with biblical events and understandings mysteriously linking together at different intersections of the beginning, the middle, or the end. So there's never been a book like the Bible. And as it says, a wise man will hear and will increase learning. And the increasing of the learning is an ongoing process. And the Bible will then speak to you at different stages of your life as you keep growing as a person until your time has passed. But until then, to show our love for Yahuwah, we guard his commandments, and in turn he'll continue to show us more of who he is. He that has my commandments and guards them, he it is that loves me, and he that loves me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him. And now the 10 commandments, they're the starting point, but at the same time a command is an instruction, or it's someone telling you to do something. And so we're also told in the Bible to do other things that revolve around or detail certain elements of the 10 commandments. Yahushua answered and said unto him, "If a man love me, he will guard my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him." So from the Sermon on the Mount to Yahushua's instructions given to his apostles, which in many cases connect back to the words spoken by Yahuwah in the Old Testament, there have been a lot of words spoken and commandments. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. So when it comes to the fruit of the spirit of love, the first aspect of love must be for Yahuwah, and that's demonstrated through guarding his words and walking after his commandments. Yahushua said, "You shall love Yahuwah Eloheka with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the Torah and the prophets. Torah, or law, is the 10 commandments, and in the literal sense, Torah is also the first 5 books of the Bible which speak of other practices that were to be performed or shunned amongst Yasha'al. So Matthew chapter 22 verses 37 to 40 is saying that the Torah is summed up by loving Yahuwah completely first and foremost, and by loving your neighbor. Now concerning love generally, a good benchmark has been set out in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where the word used for love in some Bibles is charity, which in the Greek is agape, which is synonymous with agapao, which means love in a social or in a moral sense. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13 reads, "Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all belief so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love envies not. Love vaunts not itself, is not puffed up, does not behave itself unseemly, seeks not her own, is not easily provoked, thinks no evil, rejoices not in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. So that's the basic love benchmark, and from reading it, it's then good to consider how we're treating our fellow brethren in the walk. Do we curse others out, or block communications, or walk away from friendships because of, and I quote, resolvable differences or misunderstandings, or because of envy? Do we look to promote ourselves over others? Do we seek to mock or be sarcastic or tear others down? Do we ignore people when they try to make an effort with us? Are we easily provoked by others? Do we return evil for evil? If someone else does wickedly, are you secretly happy about it? These are some things to consider, because the word says, love works no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the Torah and the prophets. Another word for love, this time in the Hebrew, is rasham, meaning compassionate or merciful, which Yahuwah has been with us. As for Elohim, his way is perfect. And as for Yahushua HaMashiach, when he walked this earth in human form, being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all them that obey him. Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Elohim by him, seeing he ever lives to make intercession for them. So through Yahushua HaMashiach, Yahuwah shows his compassion and mercy towards us, and generally he has a constant love and interest towards us, which for a start can be seen through the countless provisions on earth that he's created for our sustenance, for our development, and even for our amusement. As written, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. So he does these things for us without being susceptible to any change of heart in doing so. And he shows constant love and interest towards us who are entirely unworthy. And then here we are in many cases unwilling to show compassion and mercy and forgiveness to others who are just as unworthy as ourselves. Really and truly, from the actions of our past, and in some cases from actions of today, right now, we should be dead. And yet still here we are through Yahuwah's grace. And then what about outside of the walk? How are we treating those outside of the walk with Yahuwah? Are you out there running around confirming other people's damnation? Or if you personally are not in the walk, are you out there just stepping over people anyway? I hope not, because whether you or someone else is in the walk or not, it's Yahuwah's will for us to show attributes of love toward all men. As written, increase and abound in love one toward another and toward all men. Let all your things be done with love. And also that concerns your enemies too, which I know is a controversial issue for many. But even so, that's what Yahushua HaMashiach did, with Judas being a prime example. When Yahushua was speaking to his disciples, Yahushua answered them, "Have not I chosen you 12, and one of you is a devil?" And yet still Yahushua didn't curse Judas out or insult him. Did you know that generally, if we apply Yahushua's mentality, it could actually lead to someone changing off their own accord for the better? Okay, fair enough, that wasn't the case with Judas because that wasn't his destiny. But how do we know the absolute destiny of others? Like Yahuwah said, who we're supposed to be imitating, by the way, he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. And he did just that with us, and was patient while we were wicked and unrepentant in the world before eventually seeking after a change of character. Did you know that deprived environments can be a main cause of physical and psychological problems with other people? For example, deprivation of necessities, diseases, unfair treatment, abuse, or more on topic, deprivation of love can be reasons why people act up in the first place. I read an article which I've placed in the description box below, where it's speaking of research done in the 1940s, where they were finding infant death rates in American and British orphanages and nurseries and hospitals were in some cases near 100%. And among the infants that did survive, there were high percentages of cognitive, behavioral and psychological dysfunction. They found that most of the deaths were because of serious emotional and sensorial deprivation. So the babies were being fed and medically treated, but they were being deprived of stimulation and affection. So deprived of love, basically. And that was because nurses in Europe and America around the 1940s had to cover their faces with surgical masks and not interact with the babies. And on top of that, to stop infection spreading, parents and family weren't allowed to visit freely. So babies' health got worse, and it was concluded that failure of infants to thrive in institutions is due to emotional deprivation. Elsewhere, biological psychiatric studies found that the effects from love shown to an infant continue flowing 10 years after a child is born. But if there's a lack of love, there'll be psychological dysfunctions. And so what are the chances of those dysfunctions persisting into adulthood? Well, that depends on many other factors. But regardless, chances are if you came across that person, you'd likely consider them an enemy, right? But what if you didn't, and instead showed them certain aspects of love that they were deprived of, and showed them a part of life that they never knew existed? Their experience with you could very well go on to change their whole outlook on life and result in them calling on Yahuwah somewhere down the line. So we see how Matithyahu might be applied. Bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Now, of course, it's a good thing on our part if we're able to refrain ourselves and do good to someone that may initially be against us. But making yourself consistently available to someone that's causing you harm, well, that might not be so wise. Whereas Yahuwah tells us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Now, on a slightly different note, when it comes to fellow brethren in the walk who should know better, Yahusha says, take heed to yourselves. If your brother trespass against you, rebuke him, and if he repent, forgive him. So we can't go around with grudges, and especially in circumstances where someone has apologized for any wrongdoing. As the word says, if a man say, I love Yah, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he that loves not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love Yah whom he has not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loves Yah love his brother also. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of Yah, and everyone that loves is born of Yah, and knows Yahuwah. He that loves not knows not Yah, for Yah is love. In this was manifested the love of Yahuwah toward us, because that Yahuwah sent his only begotten Son into the world, that we might live through him. Herein is love, not that we loved Yahuwah, but that he loved us, and sent his Son to be the propitiation for our sins. Beloved, if Yah so loved us, we ought also to love one another. No man has seen Yah at any time. If we love one another, Yahuwah dwells in us, and his love is perfected in us. Hereby know we that we dwell in him, and he in us, because he has given us of his Ruach. But let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. And so by love serve one another. For all the Torah is fulfilled in one word, even in this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, in some cases, of course, in this walk, the love that Yahuwah expects us to show towards others isn't always reciprocated. But even then, recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. And if it be possible, as much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of belief. And add to your belief virtue, and to virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance, and to temperance patience, and to patience the fear of Yah, and to the fear of Yah brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness love. For if these things be in you and abound, they make you that ye shall neither be barren nor unfruitful in the knowledge of our Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach. But he that lacks these things is blind, and cannot see afar off, and has forgotten that he was purged from his old sins. So there were quite a few righteous attributes mentioned there in 2 Peter especially, but ultimately on the theme of love, if we ourselves can't see that love towards all people must be applied in our walk, then basically we're blind, and we've forgotten that Yahuwah loved us and purged us from our old sins to be a model and to draw others to him through some of the same qualities that he showed us, with love of course being one of the keys. And so now on to joy, which is on par with happiness. And I say on par with happiness because happiness is more so to do with the here and now, which someone may perceive to be a happy or an unhappy set of circumstances or experience, whereas joy is more so associated with a future set of circumstances or with an anticipation of something that will bring about joy. So for example, Yahushua would have been unhappy at many times during his walk with some of the things that he went through, but at the same time joyful. The word says that Yahushua was despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, but all the same, for the joy that was set before him, endured the stake, having despised the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Yahuwah. All power being given unto Yahushua, that was the joy that was set before him, despite any negative circumstances that he was in. And similarly with Paul and Silas, who couldn't have been happy about being beaten and imprisoned with their feet fastened, but all the same, they were joyful and sang praises to Yahuwah. Acts reads, "The multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrates rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely, who, having received the charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto Yahuwah." So the fruit of the spirit of joy was with them regardless, and that could only have been because they knew of and believed in Yahuwah. And what's associated with Yahuwah? Salvation and the kingdom of Yahuwah, which is to come. And that's the same reassurance that the body of Hamashiach should have, and so on reflection should be able to muster up some joy in anticipation of what's to come also, because regardless of current circumstances, we have things to be joyful and also happy about. As the word says, "Happy is he that has the Elohim of Jacob for his help, whose hope is in Yahuwah his Elohim, which made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that therein is, which guards truth forever." Happiness is something that we could experience in the moment and at any given moment, knowing that we have the Elohim of Jacob, Yahuwah, for our help at whatever time that might be. And then from there on, going forward, we can rejoice. As the word says, "Let all those that seek you rejoice and be glad in you. And let such as love your salvation say continually, Let Yahuwah be magnified. For I know that my Redeemer lives, and that he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth." So hallelujah for that. A seeking of Yahuwah brings about reason for joy. It brings about a sense of joy in expectation of what's to come, which is ultimately salvation and a renewed heaven and a renewed earth where contentions and all these other contributing factors to today's society will be gone. And simultaneously, that expectation and what's to come should also bring about a feeling of peace, or a spirit of tranquility and freedom from inward or outward disturbances. And one way of achieving that is knowing that you're justified by Yahuwah through Yahushua HaMashiach, and by cultivating a relationship with him so that you know that you're not causing offense to him. Therefore, being justified by belief, we have peace with Yahuwah through our Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach, by whom also we have access by belief into this grace wherein we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of Yahuwah. As the word says, you will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. A mind stayed on Yahuwah equals perfect peace, which means ultimately that we won't be subjected to his wrath. Perfect peace should also mean a pursuit of peace amongst others, and more importantly amongst the brethren of Yahuwah, where harmonious relationships should be an aim. Let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another. Peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which is a sense of safety or well-being, a feeling of being at ease or tranquil, completeness, wholeness. And so following after these things and internalizing these feelings puts us in alignment with Yahuwah's spirit and in alignment with his intentions for us. So this was a brief summary of the fruits of the Ruach of love, joy and peace. And so may you meditate on these fruits, and may Yahuwah bless you through Yahushua HaMashiach, and Yahuwah willing, I'll be back soon with a video on the other fruits of the Ruach. Until then, keep well, shalom. I hope this has been useful to someone, and may Yahuwah bless.